Good afternoon, Mr. Dim. This is my presentation on the three parables in a modern context. Call it Stories of God, Three Parables of Jesus in the Modern World. When most people hear the word parable, they think of the old stories about shepherds, farmers, and travelers from over 2,000 years ago. Something I thought was really interesting about parables is that they're actually really interesting, like even today. So I kind of wanted to retell all of them in a more modern context. So if Jesus were teaching today, he wouldn't talk about all that old stuff that he was doing, like sheep, vineyards, or ancient roads. He would use situations we recognize, like highways, successful entrepreneurs, tech CEOs, schools, neighborhoods, and everyday people. So I'm going to retell three of Jesus' parables in a modern setting: the rich fool, the good Samaritan, the lost sheep. I like the rich fool, the good Samaritan a lot. I didn't know about the lost sheep. I had to do some research on that. But, I just picked it because I thought it was interesting today. And after each story, I'll explain the meaning and what Jesus was teaching and how these lessons connect to the kingdom of God and how they also connect to today. I already went over all that, so I kind of messed up the slide timing. But first one, the rich fool. Let's imagine a young tech CEO named Jeffrey, maybe Bezos, probably, and or Mark Zuckerberg. It kind of works for all of them. So while he was still in college, he designed a smartphone app that became incredibly successful almost overnight. And within just a few years, he was worth hundreds of millions, billions. Everyone interviewed him. He was constantly being featured on all the covers. He was like a big up and coming celebrity billionaire and recognized on social media. Whenever reporters asked him what to do next, he would always give the same answer. I'm going to buy another mansion. I'm going to buy another yacht. I'm going to keep growing my business so I can become a trillionaire. And his company did continue to grow. He amassed massive amounts of wealth, and doing his investments multiplied every year instead of improving wages for employees who struggled to pay rent. And he reduced the benefits, he reduced everything, no bathroom breaks, made it very hard for work at his company, but he was making so much money. To Jeffrey or Mark, or I don't know, I should pick a name. Let's say Ethan. Success was measured by one thing: having more than he did yesterday. And every new achievement only made him want another one. Late one evening, after signing the biggest business deal of his life, he stood in his penthouse apartment overlooking the city, as he was also doing drugs. He smiled to himself and thought, "I've done it. I've had enough money for 10 lifetimes. Now I can finally relax and enjoy everything I earned." Then that night, without warning, Ethan suffered a fatal overdose from all the drugs he had taken. That's kind of butthole. His business continued operating. His homes were sold, his cars were auctioned, his bank accounts passed to someone else. Everything that he had spent his life collecting stayed behind. The only thing he couldn't keep was the one thing he always assumed he would have: more time. This is exactly what Jesus was teaching in the parable of the rich fool. The problem wasn't that the man was wealthy, even though Jesus says that it is harder for a wealthy man to enter the kingdom of God than it is for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. It's not inherently a bad thing. It depends on how you use your wealth. He took from his employees, he pressed down on the common man so he could have a more luxurious and lavish lifestyle. And in the end, it didn't matter. This is kind of important for what the upside down kingdom represents, where everything that we think is important is actually flipped on its head. And this really applies to this story exactly because the more you have physically is the less you'll be able to bring to the kingdom of God. Next, we have the story of the Good Samaritan. I just recorded this once before and it got destroyed. All right, I want you to imagine a rainy Friday evening. A college student is driving home after visiting his parents for the weekend. The highway is busy and it's really hard to see. Everyone wants to go home before the storm gets worse, so there's some rushing, there's some unsafe driving practices. And suddenly another vehicle swerves into his lane. He loses control, his car crashes into a ditch. He's injured, his phone is shattered, he can't get out of the car. Minutes pass. First driver slows down, looks at the wreck, and keeps driving. I hope someone calls for help, they think. A second car pulls over for a moment. Instead of helping, they record a short video of the man's plight, post it online before driving away. More cars pass, everyone assuming others will stop. Finally, an older pickup truck pulls over. The driver is an immigrant who recently moved to the United States. His English isn't perfect, and he's on his way to an important job interview. Without hesitation, he rushes towards the damaged car. He calls 911. He stays beside the injured student, talking to keep him calm until the ambulance arrives. By the time everything is over, he has completely missed his interview. He sacrificed his own opportunity simply because another human being needed help. This is what Jesus wanted his listeners to understand. When Jesus originally told the story, the Samaritan was someone many Jews would have disliked or distrusted. He deliberately chose the most unexpected hero possible. Your neighbor isn't just someone who lives next door. Your neighbor is anyone who needs compassion. I think the story applies heavily today because it speaks on the fact that people always assume other people are going to do things, and that leads to inaction on their part or omission. This parable teaches the kingdom of God breaks down barriers between people, and it doesn't matter someone's background, their race, gender, history. All that matters is that they need help in that moment, and anyone is able to give that help. Next, we have the story of the lost sheep retold. So, I'd like you to imagine a high school where there's this teacher that's been teaching for 20 to 30 years, and they know every student's name, encourages them to succeed, and stays after school, offering extra support. Everyone loves her. But one of her students is respectful, hardworking, quiet. But when the second semester hits, things begin to change. He misses all the classes, his assignments ebb, and eventually he disappears from school altogether. Some teachers assumed he gave up. One of them says, "Don't waste your time. Focus on the students who are actually showing up." But the teacher refuses to give up, the good one. She emails him, she calls home, and she works with the school counselor. She checks in every week, and eventually she learns the truth. Marcus hasn't disappeared because he cared. Marcus, that's the name of the guy. Hasn't disappeared because he doesn't care. His mother became seriously ill, and he'd been staying behind to care for the little siblings. He had fallen so far behind in school and decided that it'd be too embarrassing for him to continue anyways. But the teacher works with the administration to help him return. His teachers give him extra time, his classmates help him catch up, tutor him. When Marcus walks back into the classroom several weeks later, the teacher smiles warmly and says, "We're glad you're back." Marcus realized something important. Even when he had thought everyone had forgotten him, someone had been looking for him all along. I really like this reflection of the parable of the lost sheep, which is a parable I did not read ever before this time. I was just looking for. I knew Rich Fool. I love the Rich Fool, and I love the Good Samaritan as well. But this one I didn't know, and I looked it up especially for this assignment, and I did some research on it, and I like it. It shows that no one can wander too far. No one is beyond God's love. The shepherd doesn't wait for the sheep to find his own way home. He goes looking for it. Likewise, Christians believe God continuously seeks people who feel forgotten, broken, and distant from Him. When they return, God doesn't respond with anger, He responds with great joy. Why these stories matter today. Although these stories were first told nearly 2,000 years ago, their lessons remain remarkably relevant. The rich fool reminds us to not build our lives around money and possessions because they cannot give us lasting meaning like faith and empathy can. The Good Samaritan challenges us to love people beyond our comfort zones and to show mercy without asking whether someone deserves it. The lost sheep reminds us that every single person has a measurable value in God's eyes, and that God's grace reaches even those who believe they have been forgotten. Together, these parables reveal the heart of Jesus' message. The kingdom of God isn't about power or wealth, it is about generosity instead of greed, compassion instead of indifference, and grace instead of condemnation. This is why Jesus taught through stories, to give us a glimpse of the kingdom of heaven. How should we live if we truly want to follow Christ? What I can say about the parables is that they're very important to me. Maybe one of the most important parts of the Bible, besides the Passion, most likely. Because I think they're just so relevant today. And I don't know, like thinking about it, it really is strengthening my faith. That it Jesus could predict something that'd be so accurate 2,000 years ago. But then again, it could be like how great writers predict human emotion and all that stuff. I like them. The Rich Fool, The Good Samaritan, they're all very good. Well, I didn't talk about The Prodigal Son. Thank you for this class. I really liked it. It was nice reading the whole Gospel of Luke. That was probably my favorite assignment.